Hello everyone, welcome to PW OnlyIAS YouTube channel. And yes, like I told you, I'm here with the final part of center-state relations. One must understand here one thing, largely this is important from a mains perspective. However, it is UPSC, we never know what can come from here. Recommendations, whatever you're going to see, directly I don't think so a question will come. But still, just go through it once. Don't try to by heart it, just understand it. That is most important. Just try to understand in what order these recommendations came. Whether Punchi's commission came first, or Sarkaria commission came first, or was it the West Bengal memorandum, etc., etc. So, understand what is the chronological sequence, plus understand what are the crux of these recommendations. Clear, people? So, before we head on with our discussion, once again, this is my Telegram channel. You can send in your answers written in the PDF format of all the PYQs from 2013 of the optional public administration, which I teach, then the GS, all the four, along with essay. Clear, people? So, heading right into it, trends in center-state relations. Till 1967, center-state relation was smooth. Regional parties, what does it mean? See, till 1967, if you actually see, it was a single party rule in the country, be it at the center, be it at the states. But 1967, later, after 1967, what are we seeing? A lot of regional parties started emerging. The rise of regional parties also started creating tensions in the center-state relations. What was the reason for it? Because largely this was the time period where president's rule was imposed. President's rule was used like anything. Anything means like at the drop of a hat, they will simply use president's rule. Okay, constitutional machinery has failed. Dismiss the state government. And the worst part here was sometimes the state government, more often than not, had the confidence of the legislature. That means the Council of Ministers had a clear majority in the Legislative Assembly. But in spite of that, if it was a political party which was different from that of the center, or if it was a political party that was against the center, definitely what used to happen was that the state government used to get dismissed. So from this point onwards, we can see a lot of rift is happening. Clear, multiple state governments were getting dismissed helter-skelter. It is a welcome relief that in this last 10 years or last 14-15 years, at least we can see usage of president's rule has come down drastically. So we are going to see now what were the major tension areas in center-state relations. Appointment and dismissal of governor, discriminatory and partisan role of the governor. That is, even today, that is the biggest allegation against the governor. That is, the governor is not acting neutral. Governor is acting like an agent of the party in power at the center. Governor is only trying to bid what the center wants, but not respecting state government's autonomy. Imposition of president's rule, deployment of central forces to maintain law and order. This has come down very recently, but when it comes to making important arrests, still central forces are used. Reserving state bills for president. Discrimination in financial allocation for states. Planning commission. Now, one must note here one thing. Issues related to planning commission is now part of history because no more planning commission is there. It has become a redundant body. Management of AIS, use of electronic media for political purposes, appointment of inquiry commissions against chief ministers, sharing of finances between center and states, encroachment by center on state list. Implementation of centrally sponsored schemes by states, modus operandi of central agencies. Barring that planning commission part, if you look at most of the other issues that has been highlighted as part of the tension between center-state relations, it exists even today. We know the episode where CBI officers or ED officers, how they were treated in the state of West Bengal. We also know the instances where to arrest and to conduct raid in the banned Popular Front organizations, Popular Front of India's offices and their respective homes, central forces were used. It was not even informed to the local police administration. They were surprised also to know that Central Armed Forces had come. They had provided protection to NIA and ED, and all these raids were conducted. So all of this is even now an issue. Administrative Reforms Commission. So from now onwards, we are going to see the various commissions that were set up suggesting certain reform measures to improve center-state relations. First in this regard is the first Administrative Reforms Commission set up in the year 1966 under the chairmanship of Morarji Desai to examine center-state relations. The important point here to understand is no action was taken on the 22 recommendations. All right. One of the major recommendations included establish interstate council under Article 263, which is there. Governor should be non-partisan and should have long experience in public life. Delegation of powers to the maximum to states. Transferring more financial resources to states. Like I have told you, this particular point is still a matter of contention, especially among the southern states. Deployment of central armed forces only on request of state. That's it. Some of the major ones. As you can clearly see, what were the 4 major points what has been highlighted that continues to be a bone of contention even today. The next in line is Rajamannar Committee, set up in 1969 by the Tamil Nadu government. It was a 3-member committee and the chairman of it was Dr. P.V. Rajamannar. Center-state relations and to suggest amendments to the constitution. That was the purpose, to analyze the center-state relation and to suggest amendments. And what they found out, reasons for unitary trend in the country. Reason, what are the reasons why that we have a largely unitary form of government rather than federal. Provisions in constitution which conferred powers on center, one-party rule at the center and states, inadequacy of states' fiscal resources. That means state is not having enough financial resources, as a result of which, what is happening? States are dependent on center for funds. Then obviously, as I have told you earlier, the redundant planning commission. Now, what were the major recommendations of the Rajamannar Committee? Interstate Council. Finance Commission should be made a permanent body. Planning Commission should be disbanded. Article 356, 357 and 365 should be completely omitted. So that 356, 357, 365, it is all to do with what? President's rule. And under what clauses or conditions President's rule can be imposed. Provision that state ministry holds office during the pleasure of the president should be omitted. Why? Because governors used to dismiss the state governments at will, their sweet will. At the drop of a hat, governments used to get dismissed. This is in the 60s and 70s I'm talking about. That time president's rule was used like anything. Certain subjects of union list and concurrent list should be transferred to state list. Residuary powers which should be with the states. All India service should be abolished. Now, 8 recommendations have been given. Who set up this committee? Tamil Nadu government. Does center have any obligation to listen to the recommendations of a committee set up by a state government which will curtail the powers of the center? No. Therefore, center government completely ignored the recommendations. That is what anybody would do. Taking it further forward, Anandpur Sahib resolution passed in 1973 by Akali Dal. They too recommended center's jurisdiction should be limited to defense, foreign affairs, communications and currency. That means reducing their powers again. The Rajamannar committee also said the same thing. More power should be given to the states. Anandpur Sahib resolution also said the same thing. Reduce the number of subjects under center and more subjects should go to whom? The state list. Entire residuary powers with states. Constitution should be made federal in the real sense, equal representation and authority for all the states at the central level. Needless to say, again, ignored. West Bengal Memorandum, set up in 1977 by the then communist government of the state of West Bengal. Union in constitution should be replaced by federal. Jurisdiction of center should be confined to defense, foreign affairs, currency, communication, and economic coordination. All other subjects, including residuary, with states. A common claim in all the three recommendations, what we have seen so far is they wanted the residuary powers with the state. As per the provisions of our constitution, residuary power is with the center, number one. Number two, they wanted states to have more subjects under the state list than in the center or in the concurrent list. They wanted the number of subjects of central list to be reduced to a few important topics. Apart from that, everything else should lie with whom? The state. All other subjects, including residuary, with states. Article 356, 357 and 360 repealed. States' consent made obligatory for formation of new states or reorganization of new state. As you can clearly see, like I have always kept on telling you, India is an indestructible union of destructible states. When we say, what does it mean? It clearly means the states can be destroyed at will. Boundaries altered, names can be changed, size can be reduced, increased, destroyed completely, and you can create another state, alter the boundaries, anything you can do. States' consent is actually not required. Of the total revenue raised by the center, 75% should go for states. Rajya Sabha should have equal powers with Lok Sabha. Abolish All India service. As usual, center did not accept any of this. Because like I told you, a committee that is being set up by the state government, which is going to make a recommendation that will curtail the powers of the center, no central government in its rightful sense will pay it any attention. Sarkaria Commission. Sarkaria Commission and following that the Punchi Commission. These are the two most important commissions which we really need. Even from a GS2 paper, mains paper perspective, as well as for all the public administration students who are watching this. In 1983, it was set up. Central government appointed. 3 members were there. Chairman was R.S. Sarkaria. The other 2 being B. Shivaraman and S.R. Sen. Examine and review the working of the existing arrangements between center and states. That was the purpose for which Sarkaria Commission was created. Commission did not favor structural changes. Existing constitutional arrangements and principles were sound. Changes needed in functional or operational aspects. That is what this commission found out. And they did not favor structural changes. Means what? They still wanted a powerful center only. They did not want that aspect to change. Some functioning aspect with regard to the relation between center and the state. In that, we need a few changes. Federalism, a functional arrangement for cooperative action, than a static institutional aspect. And it also rejected the curtailing the powers of center. That is, federalism, when we say, it is just an arrangement for what? Ensuring cooperation between center and state. You cannot demand it. That federation itself should be the feature, or it should be the main criteria for the defining the relationship between center and state. That is not the case. Did not prefer centralization. Over centralization led to blood pressure at the center and anemia at the periphery. That is, over concentration of power at the center was not beneficial either for the center or nor for the states. 247 recommendations were given. 180 got implemented. Important recommendations are permanent interstate council under Article 263. Article 356 should be used sparingly. Strengthen All India service and create more All India services. That was an important recommendation. Residuary powers of taxation with Parliament, others should be in concurrent list. Reason for withholding state bills should be communicated by President. National Development Council should be reconstituted and renamed as National Economic and Development Council. Like I told you, ever since Planning Commission became redundant, this point also has no meaning anymore. Zonal Council should be reconstituted afresh. Center should have powers to deploy central armed forces without the consent of the state. However, consultation is desired. Like I told you, in the context of the raid that was conducted by NIA and ED, where central armed police forces were deployed, like I told you, most states were caught by surprise. They didn't even know about such an important operation being carried out by all the 3 central agencies. Now, Here they have recommended consultation is desired, but in reality, that element of surprise is needed. Why? Information can leak and it will actually affect the conviction rate. Center should consult states before making law on state list. Procedure for consulting the CM while appointing the governor should be included in the constitution. As we can clearly see, most of the issues, functional issue between in center-state relation is what? President's rule, the way governor is behaving, the way governor is reserving certain bills for the consideration of the president. It is all surrounding largely around the governor's office. Net proceeds of corporation tax should be shared with states. Governor cannot dismiss the Council of Ministers if they enjoy majority. Governor's term should not be disturbed except for compelling reasons. That means, generally what used to happen is, whenever the government at the center will change, first thing that they will do is, they will dismiss all the governors who were appointed by the earlier central government. Getting the point here? The government at the center changes. First thing that they will do is remove all the governors appointed by the earlier government. Again, if the government changes, what? The same thing will happen. Getting the point here? So generally what will governors do is, most of the governors will simply give their resignation to the president and they'll leave office because they don't want that humiliation. All right. Now that we are having almost continuous power, 2014 to 24, now we are having continuously one government in power. We are not reading about it anymore. But in case, let us say, India Alliance manages to form a government in 2029, what is the first thing that is going to happen? Definitely, governors that were appointed by the earlier NDA government will be removed, or they themselves will resign. No commission of inquiry against state minister unless demand is made by parliament. Surcharge on income tax should not be levied by center except for specific purpose and for limited period. Present division of functions between planning commission and finance commission should continue. Again, here they talked about, this is the only body so far that we have seen where they talked about planning commission should be continued. Whereas the earlier commissions, whatever, or resolutions, whatever we saw, they were all recommending what? Planning commission should be removed. Steps to implement three-language formula in true spirit. That is, again, it's a current ongoing topic. No autonomy for radio and television, but decentralization in their operations. No change in the role of Rajya Sabha and power of center to reorganize states. That means what? This body, Sarkaria Commission, basically wanted center to continue to be in its powerful role. It did not prefer toning down or curtailing the powers of the center. And it shouldn't be happening also. Because like I told you, ours is a very diverse and a very vast country. So in case if we don't have a strong center and we give more powers to the states, in all probability, we will end up becoming like Europe. Different countries. Clear? Taking the discussion further forward. Punchi Commission is the final commission that we are going to see now. Now in this again, we are going to see many important recommendations. Now these recommendations, please understand, they are very important from the mains perspective. All right. Again, I will only tell you one thing. Keep going through it. Especially the ones whichever we see with regard to governor, please make a note of it. Because governor, state government, central government, this triangular topic is a very important topic as far as UPSC is concerned. So without any further delay, set up in 2007 under Madan Mohan Punchi as a chairman. The other members were Dhirendra Singh, Vinod Kumar Duggal, Professor N.R. Madhava Menon and Dr. Amaresh Bagchi. Again, to analyze the center-state relations. Observation made was cooperative federalism will be the key to sustaining India's unity, integrity, social and economic development in the future. So cooperative federalism. So they are also suggesting the same thing only, that we need a cooperative federalism. Not tension, not conflict between center and state. So the important recommendations include broad agreement between center and state to legislate on concurrent list, greater flexibility for states for matters in state list and transferred subjects in concurrent list. Union should occupy only that many concurring or overlapping jurisdiction that is necessary for uniformity. So when it comes to concurrent list again, the suggestion is for cooperation and consultation. And wherever center is planning to pass a legislation, where it is overlapping with the jurisdiction of the state, or it is a matter again in the concurrent list, it should be only for those things where you require a pan-Indian uniformity. That is, you need a legislation which is applicable all over India, and only therefore Parliament can pass such a law. Only then Union should step in. Otherwise, don't do it. Why? It will lead to unnecessary conflict and friction between center and state. Auditing role of interstate council in concurrent or overlapping jurisdiction. That is again to give more powers for the ISA under Article 263. Period of 6 months for president to decide on state bill. Now, this is a very contentious topic, if you ask me, because generally when a governor reserves a bill for the consideration of the president, there is no timeline specified within which president has to give his or her decision. So, a president can indiscriminately keep a state bill pending and allow it to lapse just like that. Parliament should make a law on entry 14 with regard to what? Treaty. That is, any treaties that we sign or agreements that we sign, to implement it, center can pass laws. Correct? But for this purpose also, it should clearly define it. Only in constitution there is a provision. But to what extent it can be implemented or what extent it will apply or not apply, that has not been mentioned anywhere. So to define it properly, Parliament should pass a law on it so that there is clarity. Financial obligations arising from treaties and agreements should be a permanent frame of reference to the Finance Commission. So even that should be taken. Any treaties or agreements that we are signing where financial matters are involved, devolution, etc. are involved, it should be also taken as a term of reference by whom? The Finance Commission. While appointing governors, follow guidelines of Sarkaria Commission. The person should be eminent, should be an outsider, should be apolitical to the local politics. That means that person should not be having any interest in the local politics. Plus, shouldn't be political in recent past. Again, that person shouldn't be politically involved. So, totally a person who is not at all involved politically. That is the point here. Fixed tenure for governor and removal not at center's discretion. This is again an important point. We have seen this under Sarkar, and I told you what is the reason for it. Procedure for impeachment for governor should be made just like president. That means it shouldn't be the discretion of the center. Like I told you, whenever a government in the center changes, it is automatically the next thing. The first thing that will happen is what? Remove all the governors appointed by the earlier government. So the recommendation is that governor also should be impeached just like the president. Now, why? What is the counter argument to this? See, president, if you ultimately see, is indirectly elected, whereas governor is an appointed post. Getting the point? That is why we don't keep a very tough process of impeachment in the case of governor. But the argument why we need impeachment is so that the governor performs or functions not as an agent of the center. Obviously, governor is an agent of the center. But when I say agent of the center means governor should not do the political, work of the center. Governor should give complete respect to that constitutional post. No discretionary power for governor under Article 163. Governor should decide within 6 months to grant assent or reserve for president. Again, the time period. A time period has to be clearly specified with regard to how long a governor can keep a bill pending. Moving on. Governor's role in appointment of chief minister in case of hung assembly. Again, this entire area, if you ask me, it is very, very important. Even now we can see issues surrounding this, and this is there in every state election. This generally tends to happen. Very recent past, if you ask me, it has happened in the state of Karnataka, where the BJP won the maximum votes as a single party, if you see, but they were still not having a clear majority. The governor gave too much of time for the then leader of the BJP party, that is Mr. Yediyurappa, giving him ample amount of time for what? Just to form a government. But he was not able to get the sufficient support of the MLAs. Automatically, what happened? The next major coalition party, a coalition which was formed only after the results were announced, not before that. So before that, there was no coalition. After the results were announced, Congress and JDS formed a new coalition. They were having the number. They were having the support. So automatically now what is the case? They can form the government. Getting the point here? And they formed it also. So this is how things work. So here again, governor should not act like an agent of a particular political party. That is what I told. Let it be an agent of the central government, but not of the political party that is in power at the center. So that is why they say governor's role in appointment of CM in case of a hung assembly, either go for the party or combination of parties that has the widest support. Combination of parties or pre-poll coalition has majority, treated as one political party. That is, before the election itself, 2 to 3 parties came together. So consider them as one single party. Or governor should select CM in the order indicated here. Group of parties which had pre-poll alliance, commanding the largest number. The largest single party staking claim with the support of others. Post-electoral coalition. Post-electoral coalition with outside support. That means they are not part of that coalition. But they basically said that any bill, anything comes, or even if you are projecting this CM as the, or this MLA as the chief ministerial candidate, we support your decision. We are not going to oppose it. So they are not directly part of the coalition. In some matters, they will agree. That's it. They are not bound by the entire coalition's code of conduct or anything. They are not bound by it. Some matters they may support, some matters they may not. Clear? Dismissal of CM. Prove majority in floor of the house within stipulated time. Again, this is another bone of contention. This has happened multiple times again in Maharashtra, for example. Governor should have right to sanction for prosecution of a state minister against the advice of the Council of Ministers. This also has again happened in the state of Karnataka with regard to the former, the chief minister himself, Mr. Siddaramaiah. All right, governor gave the right to sanction for prosecution. Gave permission for it. Getting the point here. Governor holding position of chancellors and other statutory positions should be done away with. Again, an important point, because these days a lot of controversy is happening with regard to governor's role as a chancellor. Now, why the Punchi Commission recommended that governor should not have any other additional responsibility established by law other than the role of governor? Unnecessarily, it has eroded the constitutional morality of the post, brought in a lot of criticism. In fact, in many state governments today, bills are being put up where governor will be no more the the chancellor of the university. In West Bengal, it is the chief minister. They passed a rule already. Getting the point. When it comes to state universities, state government can decide who should be the chancellor. The state of Kerala also, a lot of issues have brewed up because of this. Now, keeping the governor as a chancellor, what is the advantage? You ensure that universities are functioning in a totally objective and neutral manner. When you have the chief minister itself as the chancellor of the university, the problem is that universities can end up becoming breeding grounds for political agenda. Appointing only those people who are favoring my political party, I will only appoint them. If I am the chief minister, I will only appoint those professors, those HODs, etc., who are in support of my political party. Getting the point here. So you are literally entertaining spoil system, favoritism. Clear? Article 356 should be used sparingly. Amendments required to incorporate SR Bommai case judgment. Localized emergency. Localized emergency simply means rather than declaring emergency in the entire state, you declare it only on few areas. Amendments to Article 263 to make ISC fair and powerful mechanism. Zonal council should meet at least twice a year. Secretariat of ISC can function as secretariat of the zonal councils. What are zonal councils? We'll be seeing in our next chapter. Institutionalize empowered committee and forum of CMs. The empowered committee and forum of CMs are basically meant as platforms to discuss the issues between center and state. New AIS in health, education, engineering and judiciary. That is, here also we can see they are also recommending we need more of all India service. To integrate, factors inhibiting the performance of second chamber should be removed or modified. That is, Rajya Sabha's performance needs to be enhanced even more, and whatever factors are there that is not allowing Rajya Sabha to perform well, that should be removed. Equality of representation in Rajya Sabha. Devolution of powers to local body should be constitutionally defined. As we all know, this is one area which is again contentious. Why? Blatantly, every state government is guilty of violating the provisions of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment. Not setting up State Election Commission, not setting up State Finance Commission, not devolving enough powers to the local bodies, that is the Panchayati Raj institutions and the municipalities. Sharing of costs between center and state in matters where states are involved in implementation of central legislation. Royalty rates revised every 3 years, and states should be properly compensated for any delay when it comes to mining. Now, this is very, very, very important. Recently also, there was a current affair associated with this. A Supreme Court ruling, in fact, which will increase the cost of mining. What is the Supreme Court ruling? Please put it up in the comment section or please Google it. Ceiling on professional tax should be done with. That means professional tax should be increased. Raising more revenue under Article 268 should be examined. All fiscal legislations assessed by independent body and report tabled in both houses of parliament or state legislatures. Fiscal legislations means anything to do with taxation. Effective involvement of states in finalizing the terms of reference of Finance Commission. As you all know, the terms of reference of Finance Commission, again, it is a bone of contention. Today, many southern states are claiming that they are getting very less fund or very less share from the Finance Commission. Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala. All these states are blaming this. Why? Because they are basically telling we are performing really well. Our HDI is good. We collect our taxes efficiently. We don't have that much of forest cover, etc. And therefore, you are not giving us enough money. Whereas other states, the poorer states, say for example, the state of Bihar, they are getting more funds because they are having very low HDI. So you are punishing the high performing states for performing well, and you're rewarding the low performing states for underperforming. This is the argument from the southern states. What is the counter argument to it? Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. The 4 cardinal principles mentioned inside the preamble. In that justice, again, if you see economic justice. Economic justice, when we talk about, what is it? Will you give more money to already developed person? Should we tax from the rich and give it to the poor to ensure equity? Correct? By that logic, if you see, definitely we should be spending our resources more into what? Those states which are underdeveloped. So there is merit in it. We cannot say that there is no merit. And we cannot allow the underdeveloped states to continue to be underdeveloped. Getting the point here? Because right now there is a migration from north to south, east to south. Not that a migration is a bad idea per se, but effectively you want to develop a state. What is the need of the hour? You need to ensure that the state has enough resources to create internal development. Getting the point here? Centre should review existing cesses and surcharges and bring down their share in gross tax revenue. Committee to look into distinction between plan and non-plan expenditure. Again, these 2 points are irrelevant today. Because plan and non-plan expenditure has been done away with. The coordination between FC and PC, that is also not required because PC has become an obsolete body. Finance Commission division in Ministry of Finance should be converted into a full-fledged department serving as the permanent secretariat for the FC. The idea is basically to improve FC's chance, to make it an even more stronger body. But that has already been achieved since the day Planning Commission became redundant and it was replaced by Niti Aayog. Finance Commission by default became an important body just because of one reason. Niti Aayog is just a think tank. It does not have any powers to allocate resources financially. They can only suggest, okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? That's it. They cannot say, if you do this, I will give you this. No. That job of allocating resources goes to only one body, which is the constitutional body called Finance Commission. PC's role should be coordination rather than micromanaging sectoral plans of central ministries. Again, irrelevant. And you can see here, this was the problem with PC also. Planning Commission had become the superarching body that literally used to go to Ministry Central. Why are you following this policy? Why don't we do this policy? Why don't we do that policy? Like that it used to be. Now done away with. Setting up Interstate Trade and Commerce Commission under Article 307 as a constitutional body whose recommendations will be binding. Again, why such a body? This body's purpose is again to ensure smooth interstate trade and commerce. Interstate trade between the states. Clear? Now, this entire recommendations have been circulated to state government for their comments. That is the current situation. Further updates have not occurred. That means it is still a very important topic. Whether they have been accepted, rejected, we will have to wait and watch. In few years' time, whether government will take an active interest in it or whether government will make certain changes where the recommendation itself will become obsolete, we don't know. Case in point, whatever suggestions they have given here with regard to how Planning Commission should work, not required anymore because Niti Aayog is there in place. Even setting up Interstate Trade and Commerce Commission, not relevant anymore. Why? You have a GST Council. In that council only maximum decisions takes place. Clear, people? So that was it. With that, we come to an end of our discussion. Once again, the PDF of this chapter, this particular content will be available here in my channel. Any further comments or suggestions are there, please put it up in the chat section or you can even visit me in my Telegram channel only. Take care, people. All the best.